Hello and welcome to my channel. Today I want to talk about being a single woman. I feel like I'm qualified to talk about this because I'm a single woman. I'm not in a relationship right now, and I haven't been in one, anytime soon. So, I want to start off by saying this. There's a lot of people who say that you need to love yourself first, don't be desperate for a man, blah blah blah. And I want to start off by saying I think all of that is true. I do actually think that you need to love yourself first. At one point, I didn't think that, but after I finally, realized that I loved myself after not loving myself and going through a big self-improvement journey, I've realized that yeah, you should love yourself. And no, you should not be desperate for a man. However, I do think that it's also fair and healthy to admit that it would be nice to be in a relationship as well. But I want to say this. I think that ultimately, right, the goal is happiness. And a lot of people feel like they'll be happier if they're with someone else. But I would argue that it's beyond just having someone, right? Like you don't want just anyone, and that's where I come in talking about like don't be desperate for a man. What I mean by that is like, okay, so I think what's really important is connection. Because without connection, it goes back to that whole saying where, like, you could be in a room of people and still feel lonely. And that's true. And the reason that that's true is because if you're in a room, with a bunch of people, but you're not connecting with them, you don't feel like those are your people. Maybe you don't have anything in common, or they don't come with the same energy or whatever it is. If there's not a connection there, then they're not really your people, and so you still feel alone. And I feel like that's really similar to the whole thing with wanting a man, right? Like, you can't just want a man for the sake of wanting a man. Because if the whole goal is to be happy and to not feel lonely, then you want someone who is going to make you feel happy and make you not feel lonely. So that means that this person has to add to your life, right? You have to feel like this person is going to make your life better, and they're going to fit into your life because they're going to actually make you feel not lonely. Because why would you want to be in a relationship with someone and still feel lonely? So you have to find the right person. So I do think that it's important to actually spend a lot of time alone just so that you get to learn who you are, because a lot of times if you're always with someone, and it doesn't even have to be in a relationship, honestly, like if you're someone who's always with your friends or always with, I don't know, just other people in general, and you never take time to yourself to sort your own thoughts through, then you don't get the opportunity to know yourself. So I do think that having a single season is really important to just learn yourself, because by knowing yourself, that's how you're going to learn who it is that you actually want in your life. So, once you are content with yourself and you know how to be alone and everything, then when you say, hey, you know what? I am lonely. I would like someone else to be in my life. Well, now you know the type of person that you want to be in your life. And even if you don't, right? If you have spent the time being alone and you do feel like you know yourself, then I think that the process will be that much quicker when you meet someone, even if you don't know what you're looking for. If you find this person, well, you know yourself, you're interacting with this person, you're realizing that the things that you value, that you care for, that you want, they don't mesh with this person, then you know, okay, this isn't my person, and you move on. By being comfortable with yourself and knowing yourself first, you're able to move on from people, situations, whatever that do not suit you. If you get in a relationship just for the sake of being in a relationship, I feel like the problem with that, it's a few things, right? So, for one thing, say that there really is a person out there that's for you. Well, if you're with this person and they're the wrong person, whether you know it or not, if they're the wrong person, then that person who's for you, well, maybe they're not checking for you because you're already in a relationship. But if you were single, then you would have the opportunity to interact with this person and get in a relationship with them. But if you're putting your all, your everything, your energy, whatever, into this person who isn't even right for you, right? Then you're not going to get what is. So I don't think it's right to demonize someone for wanting to be in a relationship, because I think at the end of the day, we're all humans. We all prefer to uh be with someone. And even though I think it shouldn't have to be romantic, I feel like you should be able to be content with other types of platonic relationships. But, there are certain things that come with a romantic relationships that is, there's nothing wrong with wanting that. And again, I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with wanting a romantic relationship. It's a different type. It can be really nice with the right person, but again, I just want to emphasize with the right person. So I just feel like, to the best of your ability, you should, if you haven't first taken the time to get to know yourself and what you want and need, and have the ability to be comfortable by yourself, then I do think you should take that time to do that first. That way, you're able to better screen people who come into your life, so you're not just letting just anyone into it. But on the other hand, let's not demonize people for, not wanting to be lonely, because being lonely feels awful. And, it's, to be honest, especially if you've already done the work, if you've been single for a while, and you're like, okay, listen, I have mastered being single, I'm good, I would really like to be in a relationship now. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And maybe you do have other relationships in your life that you really care about, but you still just want a romantic one. Again, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't think that being tired or frustrated or whatever, I mean, I think, if that's how you feel, then that's how you feel. I don't think there's too much you can do about that. Cuz right now, again, I would prefer to be in a relationship and to have some more friendships where I felt, like there was more of a connection. I'll admit that, right now I do feel lonely, but, with that, I still want to only let the right people into my life. So in the meantime, I may feel a certain way, and, that sucks. But I feel like even if I were to let someone into my life, if they're the wrong person, I'm going to still feel lonely. So I feel like you need to try to be the best you can be. That way you can try to attract the best, person for you that you can get, hopefully. And, hopefully that happens. If it doesn't, I do find that unfortunate. I do think you have the right to be upset about it. Um, I don't think people should have to just feel like, oh, well, I'll just be single forever. I don't think there's anything wrong with that either. If you decide, like, hey, actually, I prefer to be single, because I do think there's a lot of benefits to that too, honestly. I think that's fine, but basically, I don't think anyone should be demonized for feeling how they feel, whether they want to be alone or not. Though I will say, there is a difference between being alone and lonely, and just because someone chooses to be single, that doesn't mean that they're choosing to be lonely. They're choosing to be alone, and if they have other successful, fruitful, healthy relationships in their lives that, you know, compensate or whatever you want to call it for a lack of romantic relationship, then, you know, honestly, I think that's the goal. But basically, I think at the end of it, just let people in your life that are supposed to be there. Um, Try not to start to feel desperate. If you do feel desperate and you do fall into, relationships with people that aren't fulfilling you, I mean, honestly, I think that can end up being more draining than just being alone. Like, I think it's crazy. Like, it's one thing to be alone and miserable, and then it's another thing to be with someone and still miserable. Like, if you're alone and you feel lonely, that makes sense. But how you with somebody else and you still feel lonely? Like, I just think that's crazy. So, I think we should just give more people some leeway to feel how they feel, but also try to approach stuff from a healthy mindset. Anyway, that's my opinions on it. If you have your own and you want to share them, then, I'd love to read them in the comment section. But either way, hope you enjoy your day. Thanks for tuning in with me today. Have a good one.